Before cutting his hair, we want to spray it down with water so it's easier to part. After separating the top from the bottom, we can begin to remove a lot of weight. I'm going to start with my number 4 guard with my lever closed to remove a lot of the weight first. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm not taking the number 4 guard all the way up to the part. I'm actually scooping out every time I come up with my number 4 guard because we are just trying to take a lot of the weight out first before beginning our fade. And also because this is a comb over haircut and we need to make sure we have enough hair close to the part to blend in. Next, I have my half guard on my clipper, lever all the way closed, and we're going to keep our line on this fade very low all the way around until we establish the length on top first. And creating our first line honestly does not have to be perfect, as we're still just trying to remove some weight so we can get a good look of what we're working with. Last thing before starting our fade is we need to cut the top down first to get a lot of this hair out of the way so we can get a better idea of how much length we need on top to blend into the sides. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that first. Usually I like to do my fade before cutting the top, but when the hair is this long, it is much better to get a clear view and picture of how much hair you actually need on top before starting your fade. Now that all that hair is gone, you guys can kind of get an idea of what the haircut is going to look like. So now we have our number 2 guard on our clipper with our lever all the way closed. We're about to begin this fade. We're going up about a ½ inch, removing a little bit more weight before we start from the bottom and fade up. If you remember earlier, I said the first line did not need to be perfect. Well, now that we've removed all that hair and we can begin our fade, now we want to perfect that line a little bit more and make it a little bit more clean. So we have our half guard on our clipper, lever all the way closed, and we are just going ahead and detailing that line, making it nice and clean, and we're gonna make sure we get any excess hair that's left on the bottom before we start to fade up. Now we have our number 1 guard on our clipper, lever all the way closed, and we're going up just about a ½ inch. This client actually has a lot of calyx on the top, so I left the back just a little bit more full and dipped it down just a tad bit just to make sure that we don't go too high and we don't have any hair sticking out when we start to blend closer to the top. Now going back to our half guard again, we're going to have our lever halfway open, and we're going to be using just the corner to go ahead and blend in that line in between that number 1 and that half with the lever closed. Next step, we have our 1.5 guard lever closed, and we're going up another like 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and we're going to make sure to scoop out at the top because we don't want to dig in too deep, getting closer to the top of that hair. Going back to our number 1 guard, lever halfway open this time, using just the corner of our clipper. We're going to go ahead and blend in between that 1.5 closed and our number 1 closed. Now we're just getting a little bit of the weight out the way towards the top. We have our number 4 guard on, and we're kind of scooping out at the top. We're not really digging in too deep. We're just trying to get some of that weight out of there, and we're going to make sure to blend that in nice and smooth. If you guys are looking closely though, you can kind of get an idea of the fade and how it's looking. It's looking pretty good so far based on everything under the number 4 that we're doing right now. You can see the shadow fade is starting to come up nice and clean. We're just more concerned about the top and that crown area because he does have cowlicks, and we want to make sure everything blends in and lays down nice and smooth. Now we have our number 3 guard lever open, and we are just kind of very lightly blending in that area around the crown. We're not going too high, we're not digging in too deep. It may look like it, but we're actually staying pretty low and not going too hard against the skull and digging in too deep because we want it to blend in nice. We don't want to have any more dips in the hair. And now we have our number 2 guard on, levers open, and we're just using the corner. We're just blending that into the 3 that also blended into the 4. And now for some detail work, after we're done using the guards, we're going to do a little clipper over comb action. Going to make sure to smooth that area out. Just be careful, make sure you pull out at a 90 degree angle because do not want to cut too much because the hair will stick out, especially with his hair texture and his cowlicks. Now I'm just giving him a lineup around his edges to make sure that the fade looks nice and clean. It'll make it stand out in the mirror. We are taking his beard down to a number 3 all against the grain. And whether your clients are doing the beard or not, it is your job to make sure you blend in the beard sideburn area into the fade to make sure it all is nice and smooth, because clients don't know how to do that and it is your responsibility. And this is my friend. Alright you guys, so what you're going to do with the other side is just repeat all the exact same steps. Make sure to be mindful of the cowlicks that your clients may have. I just want to go through some quick notes about fading and doing this type of haircut. I'm not going over all the same steps again on this side, but I do want to give you some important information when doing a transformation haircut. Now, I love transformation haircuts. A lot of barbers do. It's very satisfying when a client comes in and they're super excited or nervous about chopping all their hair off, but they want a new look. And it's always fun to do, no matter the hair texture. Depending on the hair texture, some come out better than others, but regardless, you do your best job, you give them what they want, they're happy, and it's a great feeling. So this client of mine, he is a Brazilian model, and yeah, he's had his hair pretty long for a while now, and he said he's just kind of over it and wants a new look. So we were going to go with like a short and messy look on top with the shadow fade, but kind of midway through the haircut, when I saw how aggressive his cowlicks were, we decided to just kind of do more of a comb over look, because he has some very aggressive cowlicks, and unless he wanted to go very short on top, it was going to be really hard to style unless he decided to put a lot of product in. But I'm all about natural. The hair needs to be able to lay naturally in the correct form without product before adding any product or enhancements. So that is my main goal with any haircut. So yeah, basically we went ahead and switched it up, and we're doing a comb over, and you can kind of see the cowlick right there in the front as well. So we went ahead and did a shadow fade all the way around, and we cut a few inches off the top, but just enough like to still comb over and not have his cowlicks go the opposite direction or his hair stick out in the opposite direction. So always depending on the hairstyle that they want, how long their hair is, the hair texture, that can all vary on ways to go about giving a person a transformation haircut. So you guys can do it any sorts of way. The only thing to keep in mind is don't go too short too fast, because depending on the style, you may think you're not cutting that much off, but once you get to the end of blending and styling, you may have just realized you made a huge mistake and you're not able to give the client the exact style that they were looking for. So as you guys saw in this video, usually what I like to do is just fade the bottom first and then deal with the top after. But when the hair is really long like that, it's just good to separate the top from the bottom and then go ahead and shave down the bottom as close as, you don't have to take it super close, but just close enough. But don't take it super short to the part, especially if you're doing a comb over, because you're going to need a little bit of length to blend in once you start fading. So yeah, you just want to make sure to go ahead and take all that bulkiness off the bottom just to clear that out the way. Then, and if you want to, you could take it all the way down to the desired length that you're planning on doing, but me, I like to start longer first. It's just safer that way. So I did number 4, and then I went down to my half. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect, you're just trying to remove some bulk. After that, when the hair is that long on top, it's just best to kind of, and with all those cowlicks as well, it's just best to kind of get that hair out the way, not have to really worry about all that and where it's going to lay down. So cut it down what you think you need to get it to a point where it'll lay down on its own and not be too short and kind of fall into the way that you plan on styling it. So then that way you can start fading after that, and you can kind of gauge if you need to take more off the top to blend it in or not. And if it's good where it's at, great. You might always need to take a tiny bit more off, but it might just be more off like the side of the top and not really the actual top. So yeah, so just something to keep in mind when you're doing a transformation haircut. Just get a lot of the bulk out the way first. But when it comes to the top, just be careful on going too short, because sometimes, like and everyone's done it. I've done it before too. Like sometimes you can go too short, too fast, and it's gonna be hard to get that hair exactly the way you thought you were gonna get it. With all that being said, trust yourself. You can do this. Just be confident, and just know that everyone does make mistakes, and it's all right to make a mistake. Hair grows back. I understand it could be frustrating and stressful at certain times, but practice makes perfect. It really does. And eventually you'll get to a point where you'll know how to just look at a head, look at the style they want, and just know exactly what to do. And that's at the point where I'm at now when a transformation haircut comes in. They just show me the picture, I can see their hair, what it looks like, and I'll know exactly what to do. And I will do my best to give that person, that client, the exact haircut if I can. And just remember also that hair texture makes a huge difference. It may not be always exactly the same, but as close as you can get it. I'm a big fan of giving the customer what they want. A lot of barbers will, if you absolutely can't do it, I get it, but a lot of barbers will try to talk clients out of a haircut, all because they just believe that because the hair textures are two different things, they just can't give them that cut. No, you can give them that cut. Just make sure to explain to them that it's going to look different. It's not going to be the exact same. I get that you want a skin fade. Cool, no problem. You can definitely do that. It's not going to look like that picture because the hair texture is different, but the fade will look clean. And then you want a messy top. Cool. Just make sure to use your professionalism and your best judgment, and if you think it'll work with their hair, go ahead and give it to them, and if not, tell them to try something else. And that's what we did here. He wanted short and messy. We ended up going with a comb over. He absolutely loved the haircut after that. I also lined up his beard too, and everything just came out super clean and nice, and he was a happy customer. I was happy with the transformation, and I'm glad you guys are here to watch my work. If you guys have any questions, please drop those comments below. And remember that you can always do the little detail work at the end. It does not need to be done during the fade or the haircut. You can always do the whole fade first, make it look as best as possible, but then you can always come back to it again at the end of the haircut and do those final little details. And that's what I'm doing right here. And this is the final look. This is with no product, and I'm about to add a little bit of pomade in his hair right now. This is a mid shadow fade all the way around, tapered neck in the back. We did a 3 on the beard lined up, and it is a comb over. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, drop them below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.